How might exotic, unfamiliar rhythms connect us to a deeper part of ourselves and, perhaps, each other? What's up, my EFF? Let me tell you how it is. You've stumbled upon God Jots, a series about the nature of love, compassion, joy, and the real-life connection between human beings. I'm Ender Bowen, Nashville, Tennessee rock pop artist, author, husband, father, complete dork, and aspiring compassionist. Sit back, relax, and be prepared to laugh, cry, maybe even dance your socks completely off your body. I know I will. There's something undeniably grounding about the rhythms we're used to. Something that keeps us tethered to the earth, to time, to a sense of the here and the now. Whether it's the steady, familiar 4/4 time of pop or the rolling 6/8 feel of a slow waltz or ballad, these rhythmic patterns are part of our cultural DNA. They anchor us to this world, to a sense of reality that is easily recognizable. But what happens when we step outside those boundaries? What happens when we expose ourselves to rhythms that don't make sense to us, that move us in unexpected ways? There's a whole other realm waiting, one that has the potential to lift us off the ground, to shake loose the chains that tie us to this physical world. I've come to believe that there's a kind of spiritual magic in rhythms that are foreign, exotic, and unfamiliar. They open up new vibrations, new connections with our own spirits, with the souls around us, and perhaps even with something greater. Let's talk about what's familiar first. Most of the music we hear today, whether on the radio, in the background at a coffee shop, during a late-night Spotify binge, or over at enderbowen.com, is built around a handful of familiar time signatures. The most common, of course, is 4/4. It's the rhythm of walking, the rhythm of the heart, the rhythm of life. Each beat lands with a kind of predictability that our bodies instinctively know how to move to. There's a reason why most pop and rock lives here. There's comfort in it, a stability that is both soothing and energizing. Sort of a low barrier to entry that doesn't require much thought. Which makes sense, that's part of its commercial appeal. Think of the greatest hits of the last few decades, from Michael Jackson's Billie Jean to U2's With or Without You, or even something as recent as Billie Eilish's Bad Guy. They all pulse with that 4-on-the-floor heartbeat. It's not just about the music being catchy, it's that the rhythm keeps you grounded, keeps you feeling like you're right here in this moment. The same goes for 6/8, that triplet feel waltz that adds a touch of sway, but still keeps you firmly planted. Even in my own work, I find myself drawn to these time signatures. There's a kind of security in them. I know how to work with them, how to build around them. And let's face it, there's a reason they work so well. They speak to us in a language we already understand, a kind of unspoken agreement between musician and listener. I'll give you something familiar, and in return, you'll feel safe enough to lose yourself in it. Of course, there are some artists who betray that trust. Sean Mullins, I'm looking at you, but I digress. Nonetheless, as grounding as these rhythms are, they also keep us tethered. Tethered to the earth, to the mundane, to the same dance we've been dancing for years. And hey, I love to dance. There's something magical in that safety, sure, but is there more? All right, now let's step outside of that comfort zone for a second. What happens when you encounter a rhythm that doesn't fit into those familiar patterns? Something from another culture, perhaps, or a rhythm that feels alien to your senses. Well, suddenly you're off balance. You don't really know how to move to it. It's unsettling. How do you find the downbeat? Where's the one? How do you connect with something that doesn't follow the rules you've grown up with? Take rhythms from places like West Africa or India. The beat cycles are long, complex, and sometimes seem impossible to predict. They're often in these odd time signatures like 5/4, 7/8, or even polyrhythms, where multiple rhythms are happening at once. And as a drummer, this blows my mind. You listen, but you're not sure where to place your body. You want to tap your foot, but the ground doesn't feel as steady as it did before, almost like you're trying to find your footing during an earthquake. It's not just the physical disconnection, though. These exotic rhythms challenge the mind as much as they challenge the body. They disrupt your expectations, they confuse your sense of timing. You're no longer in control, no longer the master of the groove. For a moment, it feels like chaos. There's something unnerving about being pulled out of your comfort zone. How do you dance to a rhythm you can't grasp? How do you find connection in something that feels so disorienting? Yet, maybe that's the point. Maybe the disorientation is part of the process. Maybe being untethered is the very thing we need to connect on a deeper level, not just with the rhythm, but with something larger than ourselves. Here's where the magic happens. As unsettling as these unfamiliar rhythms can be, they also have the potential to open us up in ways that familiar rhythms can't. They shake us out of our complacency, out of our sense of control, and force us to respond from a different place. In a way, these exotic rhythms bypass the intellect and go straight to the soul. What if the purpose of these rhythms isn't to ground us, but to lift us up? What if they're meant to shake our souls free from the confines of the body, to vibrate us out of our shells? When you let go of the need to control the beat, when you stop trying to make sense of it, something happens. You start to feel the rhythm, not just with your body, but with your spirit. There's a new kind of vibration that takes hold, one that resonates on a very different frequency. It's kind of like tapping into a hidden current, a frequency that's always been there, but that you've never been attuned to. Suddenly, you're not just moving to the beat, you're vibrating with it. Your soul is dancing, not just your feet. And in that moment, you're untethered, floating in a space where the rules of time and space just don't seem to apply. And maybe that's the connection we're looking for. Maybe that's how we reach beyond the here and the now. These unfamiliar rhythms create a space where we can connect with our own spirits on a deeper level, and perhaps even with the spirits of others. There's a kind of shared vibration that happens when two people or two souls sync up to the same rhythm, especially when it's a rhythm that neither of them fully understands. So what does this mean for us? Do we abandon the familiar, the grounding rhythms of 4/4 and 6/8? No, of course not. There's a reason why they hold such a powerful place in our culture. They connect us to the world, to each other, in ways that are deeply comforting. But maybe, just maybe, we also need to make room for the unfamiliar. Maybe we need to seek out those rhythms that unsettle us, that shake us out of our shells, that challenge our sense of control. Because in that challenge, in that moment of disorientation, there's an opportunity to connect with something deeper, something spiritual, an opportunity to let our souls vibrate to a new rhythm, one that isn't bound by time or space or convention. And hey, who knows? Maybe, by opening ourselves up to these new vibrations, we'll discover a whole new way of being in the world, untethered, but fully alive. All right, now it's your turn. Have you ever listened to music that had an unfamiliar or exotic rhythm to it? How did that make you feel? Did you at any point have a sense of your spirit or your soul being untethered? Are you more willing to immerse yourself in these rhythms after listening to this episode? I would love for you to share your thoughts about this episode with my growing community of aspiring compassionists. Find out how to join us on Discord by going to enderbowen.com/Discord. If you like this episode and want to be notified when new ones are uploaded, make sure you don't leave without hitting that subscribe button. Or subscribe to God Jots on your favorite podcast streaming service. You can also check out more God Jots, as well as subscribe to the mail list for ebooks, updates, and exclusive content at godjots.com. Until next time, be honest with yourself. Be truthful with others. Give people the opportunity to surprise you. And remember that it's impossible to have absolutely nothing in common with another human being. Be a little light in the world. I'm sure I'll see you soon.